Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So this has been a highly requested video for a while. This is my double slider surprise. It is a little bit longer, so just be ready for that, but let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so we're going to start by making the actual mechanism and then I'm going to go into decorating it. So if you just want to see how to make the mechanism, you don't have to hang around for the whole video because this is going to be a fairly long one. So this is the die set that you get. It's a fairly big one, which is nice. And you start off needing to cut a couple of things. So you need 2 of these. So I'll grab this white bit of cardboard. I like to build this on white cardboard. I feel that it's easier and it gives me a much sturdier kind of card in the end. And then I put the panels on top as opposed to building the card itself, I guess, out of the pattern paper that you need. So you need to cut 2 of these. And then we need to cut, oh, come here, 2 of these ones, and then 1 of these ones. Whoops, not those ones, this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all of that out, and I'll come back and we'll have all of the bits. Okay, so like I said, 2 of the square bits, 2 of the panels, and then 1 of these. So the next thing we need to do is actually start assembling this. So if you have a good look at these ones, you'll notice that they've got a score line along here. So all I'm going to do is just grab my scoring tool, fold this along the edges and score it down really nicely because I want that to be a really nice crisp edge, and do the same thing on this side. I do love how the Lawn Fawn ones always give you such a good score line. There we go. So that then makes the pocket. So you kind of have to go with me here. That makes the pocket. And then this is kind of the bit that helps move the track. Now to make these pop out, because these will pop out like this, we need to use a bit of plastic. Now so far I've made probably 2 of these and I've used a different kind of plastic each time, and I'm yet to find one that really works. This is the one that Lawn Fawn says the one that's supposed to work the best, and they're doggy poop bags, and I just got them from Coles. I think they were $2, but these are apparently supposed to have the right amount of strength and ability to slide. So I've grabbed the bag out, there we go, and then I'm just going to measure. I think it's 2.5. I think it's 2.5 inches, which adds up to about, yeah, 2.5 inches, so about 6 centimeters. So I'm going to cut a strip of this using my paper trimmer. You don't have to use your paper trimmer, again, just it's a bit easier for me. So I'm just going to line that up at 6. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect either, because obviously it's just a mechanism. And because it's plastic, I just like to push a couple of times. This is the part I've always found is the worst bit. It gets stuck in my little track here that I've got, so it tends to tear the bag a little bit. So I've just been a bit careful when I pulled that up. And then I'm just cutting the edge of that off. And then we're going to be left with one. Oh, hold on, I did the edge, not the middle. So it's going to be too wide. Oops, did I not cut off enough? I didn't. Alright. Got a bit more bag maintenance. And then I'm just going to cut just along that line just to try and cut it into 2 bits. If it doesn't work, I'll just cut another bit out, so it won't be a big deal. Okay. Pull that up gently. Just about ready for a new guideline here, but not yet. There we go. Aha! So now I've got 2 bits, and we've got probably end up more than that because you can use the other bits of the bag. So what we do, spread that out. I like to put it down on my glass mat just to be able to, it seems to sit out without so much static this way. And then we want to wrap this around this little, I'm going to call it a T. I know it's not a T, but I call it a T. Sort of the T piece. You want to pull it less static as you can have on here is better, because it gets in the way of the static. So just going to sit that there like that, and this is where we're going to get some double-sided tape in. Actually, I'm going to get my really strong double-sided tape. This bit in particular, if it lets go, the whole card's going to fall apart. So I'm grabbing this really strong double-sided tape, and I'm just going to cut as much as I need, so it's not too much, this one. Just cut a little bit, just stick that down on the tape, on the bag, sorry. Pull this off. This is the release paper. I'm just pulling that up. If I can get my nail in underneath it, might need the tweezers. I was really hoping that in isolation I'd stop biting my nails, but yeah, no, it's gone the other way. Biting them more. Not enough to do. Okay, so you've got the double-sided tape on there. So I'm just going to pull this again a little bit tighter. Now, there's two ways to do this. You can either have stuck that down with washi tape beforehand just to hold it still so you get a really taut kind of result. I actually find it's okay without it. You just need to get the right angle on this. So I pull it, hold it there. You just want to get it so it's just not quite pulling like this, just trying to get that so you can see. So you don't want to be lifting, but you still want it to be a reasonably taut kind of seal around it. Go, push that down, and then you just cut off the excess using your scissors. Hopefully your scissors are better than my scissors. Mine are a bit dirty, so they get stuck at the moment. And there you've got this little bag that will spin around reasonably easy. And the easier it is to spin, the better your card's going to be. So you can see this one's moving around pretty easy. So from there, we'll grab our two little panels, and I'm just, to help me out here, I'm just going to write on the front of both of these, right front, just so I know which way's which. And then what we do is we stick one down here, and the other one will stick down on the back here. So when you pull it, they'll slide out. So it's actually really easy to do. Grab a little bit more double-sided tape. This doesn't need to be super strong double-sided tape now. We can just be working on regular sort of strength. So what you do is you put this tape on the right-hand side of the front, no, hold on. The right-hand side of the back of the front panel. Yeah, that's confusing. So this is the front panel. So it's gonna sit there. So it's got the tape on the right-hand side. And then the back panel is going to have the tape on the left-hand side, and we're going to stick it on the left. So, release this up. Camera. Where's it? This is why I don't use double-sided tape, guys, because I like it's wonderful and it's fantastic and it does everything it needs to do, but I can never get the release paper up, so I just don't use it. Use glue tape instead. So then we're going to line this up and stick it just down on the bag. Whoops, now I've done that a little bit low, so I just haven't pushed down on this, so I should be okay to pick it up. So I was lining that up with the bag, not with the sort of opening of the T there. There we go. Stick that down. And then we do the same thing on the back, so flip it over. And then line these up so they're straight. There we go. Okay, stick that down. And then when you pull it out, and it's hard to do now because of course we're not stuck, but you can see they kind of move in and out on their own. Now if you have any issues, sometimes the bag kind of moves a little bit, which gets in the way. There we go. So you can sort of see now that pulls in and out reasonably easily. Oh, that's so much better. That dog bag is good. Alright, so then to actually put the whole mechanism together, we're grabbing those two front pieces. we're going to get some really skinny double-sided tape. So this one, I think it's 1/8 of an inch. That's sort of like how wide it is. So I'm going to stick that on here. You can use normal double-sided tape and just cut it down, but I just found it was a pain, so I stopped doing it. So you want them on the outside of both of these flaps. Where's my end? By the end of this, I'm going to just hate double-sided tape. Yummy. We're going to stick 2 of these together so it sits like this, and then we'll assemble it and then we'll close the pocket. So you take the release paper off this bit, line these up so it makes one piece. Okay, and then that'll fold in to make the pocket. So to assemble the actual card itself, so you need to put double-sided tape on the top of both of these T's, so at the top on the front and the back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick, because otherwise you're going to see me struggling with double-sided tape the whole time, and I'll be right back. So all the tape's on. I'm going to take off the release paper on the back. I know I keep going for my nail, I don't know why, it's just a habit. Picking up the tweezers is sometimes so much harder. Go. So you slide this in, or sit it in just on the lip of the fold of that bottom bit. Go. Line it up with the edges. Whoops. Okay, and push. And then push on the top bit as well. This is where we want to just pull these panels just out just a little bit. Oops, now I've got something stuck. It does happen occasionally. It's alright, you just pull it up. So all that's happened there is I've got the panel caught. So I'm just pulling it down a little bit. There we go. So it's always a good idea to make sure that the mechanism's working before you seal the whole thing. There we go. And then so we'll pull the panel, pull the double-sided tape, sorry, up off the bottoms. And again, just make sure it's not touching. I'm going to close this bit up. So that's the lip of the backing card or the outside card, and then pull that double-sided tape up too, and then just fold this over. Okay. And there you've got your double slider surprise. Now, like with any interactive card, the more you play with it, the easier it gets to move. But can I just say, that's the easiest one so far that I've made. Like, it's sliding the easiest of anything. So that doggy poop bag is definitely the best way to go. Now, before we finish doing all of this, the only thing that I have forgotten to do, which I do a lot actually, is I've forgotten to cut the panel into here. So what I'm going to do is I need to make another one of these. I was going to make another one of these anyway, just to kind of, it is easier to assemble, especially these pockets, and then put it together. I just wanted to show you guys how simple that is. I know it took me, what, 20 minutes, I think, to do it. Once you've actually got the hang of it, it is really, really simple. You just need to get the hang of it. And you can then use it, and this is what you're going to see in a sec, you can use it either way. You don't have to use it sideways. You can use it up and down, like this. And again, the more you play with it, the easier it gets. And the more cardboard you've got on here to make this stronger, the easier it gets. You never want it to go all the way in anyway, so, well, not all the way in. Okay. But I do want to show you one other thing that you can do. So I'm just going to pull this lid up, and we will get to decorating this in just a sec. You can make a stopper so that it doesn't come the whole way in and out. So if you don't want it to come to this point and come all the way out, you can make it so it stops along the way. So the way you do that is you work out where you want it to stop. So let's say for this card I just wanted to stop here. You grab, it comes in the die set as well. It's got this little rectangle shaped one. Run that through your die cutter, which I'm going to do super fast. So it's just a plain rectangle, it's not particularly fancy or anything. But then what you do is you work out where you want this to stop, and you place it down behind the panel, but on the double-sided tape. So it's stuck down there now. So now what happens, if I fold this back over and close it, see, it won't come out any further than that little spot, no matter what I do. So that's just making it so if you only want a little bit to pop up instead of the whole thing, you've got that stopper mechanism to be able to do that. And I do find that it slides better if you grab both, and that's just, the friction is easier, but you can just have it as one, which is what we're going to do with today's card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut out all the mechanism, all the bits and pieces that I need, and that way we can start with the card and all ready to go, and we can just start assembling it. So just wanted to really quickly come back and just show you how to put these little side cutout things on. So all I'd grab is this little notch cutter. What you do is you line it up. There's nothing on the sides of these. This is just here to help you line this up. So all you do is you just hold that down, line it up. You can do it in like too far to the top or too far to the bottom. It doesn't really matter. You just line that up with, I do it with the stitching line. That way it's straight. Stick it down and then run through the die cut machine. And all it does is it just cuts out this little notch. So that way you've now got a handle or a way to be able to grab hold of, come here, the little inside bits. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I've told you guys before that I'm having issues with fuzzies on the edges of my dies. So all I do is I just really quickly run the scissors down the edge. I think it's got something to do with my plates, but if anyone knows why I get those little fuzzies, please let me know. So for the other side, I do the exact same thing. Now, because I lined that up right in the middle, I don't have to worry too much about like placement to make sure it's in the middle, because I know it is. But if you did aim it a little bit higher or a little bit lower, then just remember you need to make that angle the same, or the line straight on both sides. You can have it in a little bit closer as well. So you see the stitching. So you see the stitching doesn't come the whole way along the cut. It kind of stops a little way on. If you want that to be closer, because see on this one it's not quite as close, you can do that really, really easily. You just push it a little bit closer. So instead of having the line on the stitch, you have the line, have the line sort of more to the end of the paper, and that pulls it up more, so it'll be closer. Hope that'll make sense. These kind of ones where I have to do a bit of zooming is a little bit more difficult for me, but I like to be able to show you as best I can. So if my zooms aren't good, let me know and I'll work on them a little bit. So run this one through as well. Alright, so I've jumped into my paper scrap stash, and I've grabbed a couple of bits and pieces. So for this card, what it's going to do is it's going to pop up. So it's going to have something pop up here as opposed to having something slide out both sides. So for that reason, my grass needs to kind of come here. My grass, my hill, whatever you want to call it. And then there'll be a bit more of the scene at the bottom. And then this is going to be the sky, and this one at the top is going to be the sky. So for that reason, I'm going to cut another one of these out of my blue. I'm going to cut another one of these out of my green, and then I'm going to cut two more of my front panels, again out of each of the colours. So it's going to, again, take me a minute, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that really fast. I'm also going to cut out the notches on both of these front panel bits to match up with what I've got here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick and I'll be right back. Alright, I didn't end up liking that bit of paper. I thought it was just the wrong shade. So I'm going to bring this one here. I always hate using Lawn Fawn paper. As I love using Lawn Fawn paper, but I feel really guilty using it because it's just so pretty. It's just so pretty. So I'll use this one with the clouds and it'll kind of give me a nice little backgroundy thing anyway. So we'll work on that one. Now you would have noticed that if I actually put the two of these panels, don't rip, thank you, on together, they're actually not quite, oh this one does, maybe just my other one didn't fit quite. They were just a little bit too, it was a little bit too wide to make the whole thing. So all I did for the other one was I just left the die off the side a little bit. I'm going to cut this panel off anyway. So I just left it off the side a little bit and that helped keep it in the right spot. So I'm going to do something similar this time and just sit it off to the side because I've got to cut this a little bit to get it to go through my die machine because my die machine's a bit skinny. So I always make sure I've got enough room for both before I cut it. Alright, so all the panels are cut. Sometimes it needs to be pre-done to make sense. Alright, so I'm just going to work with this bit because that kind of guides me to where everything needs to sit. So for this one, I'm going to cut off along that score line so I don't need it because I don't need it. There we go. I'm actually just going to fold this over too so I've got the right amount of space that I'm working with. And the biggest reason we used the die cut was so that we kept the stitching on the bottom, but if you're not worried about the stitching, then you don't really need to do all of it. And that'll pop out at the bottom. The sky does the exact same thing, sits on the top, and then we'll pop up at the top. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and stamp out all of my images using my Misty tool. So I'm going to use images from, there's actually going to be 4, feels like a lot of stamp sets. Really High Five's the basis of it, but then I'm also going to grab a bunny and a couple of the butterflies from Butterfly Kisses. I'm going to grab the 2 little mice out of Merry Mice and then 2 of the mice in here from Dandy Day. So just on a bit of Express It Blend It card, I'm just going to stamp all of these out on using Memento Tuxedo black ink, and then I'm going to colour them and I'll be right back. Alright, so all my images are now cut out and up here. What I've done is I've just grabbed the grass bit that's going to be on the front, and I've just grabbed my grassy border die, and all I'm going to do is just work out where I want this to sit. So I want the trampoline to sit on the top, and then I want the rabbit to be bouncing up. So I just want him to be sitting so it's just enough room, so we come down just a little bit, because I still want it to look like he's been bouncing on the trampoline. So I reckon it's about there. So it's going to die cut that really quick. So there's our little grass bit. So that's going to sit just here. So I'm just going to line that up where it's going to sit. And I'm just going to use a bit of that scrap washi just to hold it still for a sec while I mark out where the little notch needs to come out. Now I know I'm being really pedantic here, but I just want this to line up as best I possibly can. So run this through really quick, and then we keep our little fingers crossed that that is in the right spot, which it is. Oh, it's pretty close to the right spot. I can make that work. All right, and then the clouds and stuff go on the top, and we'll just cut that bit out. So what I'm going to do really quickly now is cut this notch out, and then stick this down, and then we can work on getting everything starting to be assembled. Alright, so before we stick this down, I just want to add just a tinsy little bit of ink just to the top of the grass, just to give it a bit of contrast. I am still deciding if I'm just going to add in a little bit of stenciling as we go along here as well, so I'm just working that out. See what looks good. So this is just evergreen bough, it's just a little bit on the top there, and it's very, very light, but it'll add a massive amount of difference when you put it all together. So then we're going to start sticking this together. Now, because I want this to be in perfect placement and I just need to have a little bit of wiggle, I'm going to use some liquid glue with this. So this is just my Tombow Mono liquid adhesive, so I'm going to go around the outside. Oh, now I've just realised something. So I need to just trim off the bottom, because I don't need the bottom, because obviously the grass is going to cover that up. But I don't need to cut another notch. That's harder than just cutting this, so I'll just do that. And then we'll put the grass down while we've got all the glue happening. I'm just going to go up the grass bits just a little bit. The benefit of the liquid glue is that I've got the time to wiggle this around and get it into the exact right spot. Now I have missed just a little. I don't think you'll notice when it's sort of all put together. I think you'll notice this bit, so I'm just going to, with my scissors, just sort of trim this off to join it up. There we go. Now you never notice. Alright, there is our front panel. So this front bit can have as much dimension as you want. So if you wanted to put foam tape and bits and pieces here, that would work. I don't really think it needs it. So I'm just going to have this little trampoline sitting just there. Whoops, doesn't want to. Just there. And then the bunny is just going to be off to the left, and that'll make sense as you go along here, because at the moment you're going to look at that and go, what? But it will, because eventually it's going to pop up. That's where the little mouse will sit. He'll be up here, so it'll make it look like he's jumped up just a little bit too high, or he's been double bounced, if you're an old person like me and know what double bounced means. Alright, so I'll stick those down. Oh, I just forgot. I needed to do my little highlight. I just think it makes it look a little bit more real. And then the bunny, he's so damn cute. I think I want him to have a little bit of dimension, so I'm going to put him up on some foam tape. So make sure to have him sort of in the air, and then the mouse here will come up like this. So while we're start putting these two together now, so grab the stiff cardboard that we had before, so it's just the plain white, and then we've got the green, so attach those two, again just using liquid glue because it's a little bit easier. This is what I'm finding, if I need something to be absolutely dead on, liquid glue just gives me the time I need to get it in the right spot. If it doesn't need to be 100% perfect, that's when you pull out the glue tape. The difference is, of course, that the glue tape doesn't take any time at all to dry, which is a massive bonus. But the ability to wiggle, I think, is my saving grace with the liquid glue. So love that background. That was definitely the right choice. It's enough busyness that it's not going to be too boring. Okay, so we've got the back ready to go. It's assembling time. So grab that bit of doggy poop bag that we had earlier. So this time I'm going to help myself out just a little bit and just hold this down with a little bit of washi tape. That way I can pull a little bit more. Grab some of that super sticky tape. Get rid of the bag that's on my hand. And there's our little baggie. Now something I've just had a thought. And I probably should have done it beforehand, but I'm going to do it now. I'm just going to grab a little bit of chalk, or chalk powder, sorry, not chalk, powder. And just run that just along here. And all it's going to do is it's just going to allow this to wiggle along a little bit better. It just gets rid of some of the friction. Alright, time to assemble. Oh, now I'm scared. I'm going to do the front and the back first using that really skinny washi tape. Double-sided tape. Now this is me because I'm really bad at trimming this apparently with my fingernails. So I'm just cutting myself a bunch of strips here so I can just do it all in one go. Not the part that I'm worried about. I always wonder if it's better to put like fully decorated on here, like have it fully done, make sure everything on here is exactly as I want it and then assemble it, or if it's better to assemble it once it's in. So this time I'm going to do it now. I'm going to assemble it now, but I could very easily do it the other way. It wouldn't bother me. Alright, so we need some thick washi tape, double-sided tape. I'll get it right, I swear. The bottom for this one. Now just a little hint too, if you make sure that the seam is at the bottom, it's got more room to move. So just making sure that's right in the right spot. Seam's at the top or the bottom, either way. You know that, yeah. Seam needs to be at the top if you're going to do it this way. So at the front, we put it at the bottom. That way it's going to be hidden inside and it'll pop up. We do the same thing on the other side, but we just stick it at the top. Okay, I think I should have done that the other way, but it's okay. It will be fine. The seam probably should have been at the bottom, but I think it'll be fine. So we put the double-sided tape over the seam this time, so at the top, and because it doesn't really matter which way this one goes, I'm just going to line this up with the edges. Okay. And there we have the double slider. Oh, that's so cool. It doesn't not matter how many times I see this, I still think it's awesome. Alright, so now we'll put the double-sided tape on the top and the bottom of both of the T-bits on the front and the back. pull on this just a bit just to see if it'll come out. Always just needs a little bit of playing with to get it to do what you want it to do. So then we'll take the other side off. Over as far as I can so that I don't have too much of a noticeable white line on the other side, but I don't think that's going to work. It'll be fine. You won't notice it. And now, okay, you will notice it, but it'll be okay. And there you have, there's that seam. So the pocket works. Not worried about that, but I don't like that that bag is noticeable. Okay, so this is me because I'm a crazy person and we know this. I'm just going to pull this apart. Okay, if I make it that it doesn't come the whole way out, so if I put that stopper on, that'll solve the problem because it can't come out that far anyway. And that's alright because I don't only need the mouse to just be showing. So we'll get that flying mouse and we'll see where he needs to sit, just there. Okay, so that's where we're going to put the stopper. Flip that to where we need it, make sure there's enough room for the mouse. We'll put this stopper in behind there. I'm just going to add a tinsy bit of tape, over on this flap just to hold that in place because I think I'll need to put some more glue down. Oh, I didn't do that in the first place. That's why it didn't work. I wondered why it didn't sit down properly. Now, that's better. So now you're not going to see the plastic come out the bottom and it'll just be the little jump. So again, the more you play with this, the easier it'll get. So I know it feels, or seems like it's not sliding really well. It actually is. It's just that I'm doing a really bad job of showing you. Okay, so now let's finish assembling this. I'm gonna put, this little rabbit's gonna sit down the bottom. So he's looking up at his friends. Of course, we'll put the little mousey up here. So I'm gonna stick all of this on with double-sided tape now. Not double-sided tape, glue tape now, just because I don't need it to be movable quite as much. So I've got the little mousey, and again I forgot to put all my highlights on, so I'm going to do that really quick. And each of these are just going to be sitting around. I probably did too many and I didn't do that on purpose, but I figured better to have too many than not enough. And then the butterflies going to go up in the air around the place. It's just because it's bugging me a little bit. I'm just going to do one little thing. It's very flat at the bottom, so I'm just grabbing my grassy stencil, which is the same grass line as this other one, and I'm just going to add just a little bit of a different shade of green in front of this. Grabbing just the ink that was already on there. There's nothing else there. I haven't added any extra, so this is just what was there before. Whoops. Actually, that's fine. And that's just added just a little bit of shadow, and that's all it is. It's just to give it a little bit more life because it just didn't quite have enough there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stick all of these down. We'll see how many we end up using, but tip is don't use foam tape at all on these bottom bits and the top bit. You can use foam tape on the center bit with no problem whatsoever, but just remember that these need to slide in under, and not having any dimension, there, sorry, is going to get in the way of that. So no dimension on the panels. I finish doing all of that, I just need to work out where the sentiment's going to go. So I just want it to say jumping up to say, so it'll say jumping up to say just here, and then at the top I think it's just going to say maybe just high, maybe just high. So I've got the jumping up to say, which is just going to go right there, and I just need to make sure there's enough room with the little mousey. Now I probably should have done this beforehand, so I'm a little nervous about putting this on here, but give it a go. That's actually not too bad. So we've got the jumping up to say, put the little mousey on. I love these mice, by the way, and I don't know how many times I've said it, but one more won't hurt. I do love the way that all the Lawn Fawn stuff coordinates together. It just really helps get the most out of your stamp sets. Jumping up to say, just working out where the butterflies need to go. I'm only using liquid glue on this because the glue tape is just a little bit too big for it. And the other thing I'm just going to do while I've got all my stamps and stuff out, I'm just going to grab the little bounce marks, because there's 2 of them. It just makes it look like this guy's actually bounced. So I'm just lining that up with him, which is really hard when you're doing 2. There we go. Oops, and I just remembered I've done that the wrong way. So now it actually looks like he's bounced and he's going back up again. The butterfly up here. Actually, before we put the butterfly anywhere, we're going to have this one here that says "You're awesome," if it fits, which it doesn't quite, so I'm going to stack it. Now you can cut these. I don't like cutting my stamps. I would prefer them to stay the way they are, and then I can just do this, which is just masking them off. Just trying to use all my washi tape that I've already got here, because that way I don't have to cut more off. So just making sure the awesome is covered. So I've got the "your." That's when you just stamp it out same way you normally would. Pull off the washi tape, and then you've just got the "your" inked. Stamp that down. And then what you do is you grab your cleaning cloth, clean this really well to the point that I actually get a bit of scrap. Stamp this down a couple of times just to make sure there's nothing left on there, and then you do the same thing. You stamp off, you mask off the "your" bit, and then we just stamp the "awesome." That's so cute. And then we can just put that butterfly under here. I feel like that little mouse would almost fit in just there, but that might be stacking it a little bit too much. The trampoline probably should have just been a little bit more over to the left. So I'm going to leave that mousey off and just have it just sitting like that. So there's the card. I'm just going to get, here we go. So it sits just like that, and then you pop it and you get that little thing at the top. So the only other thing we're going to add is just a little tab so that the recipient knows there is something to do at the bottom there. I'm going to grab a little bit of that scrap green that we had left over, and a bit of washi tape, which I was hoping I had some more sitting around here somewhere. There we go. We've got our little tab, so I'm just folding that over. I'm actually going to turn this, I think I'll make it into a, so I don't mind that it's in the way there, but I'd actually rather it be the same shade of green. Although if I'm going to, oh, you know, we're just going to ink that up with what's left on the brush. Hard to do because, there we go. And I'm just grabbing out my stamp set that's called Push Here, sorry. Just grabbing this little one here that says Pull Here. Again, just making sure this is sliding as best we can. It will get better the more you play with it, so I'm not worried. I'm just going to stick this down and push this all the way in, or as far in as I want it to go, and then put a little bit of that really strong tape on either edge, and that's because I don't want this to move. I'm really a bit worried about this moving around. So a little bit on each side. so that's in exactly the right spot, and then close it up on the back. So then they just grab hold of the tab and they pull, and it'll pop up. All right, so to finish this off, yeah, I know we've still got one more thing to go. Just grabbed a bit of pale blue cardboard, and all I'm going to do is just measure this out and cut it just a little bit bigger so that it sits on top. So this is 7.7 by 12. So I'm going to make it 8 by 13, I guess. And I'm going to have it open sideways, so that way it's not the 13 we need like 20 something. I'll cut it to the 8 first. I don't think it needs to be 8. Sometimes I like to do things by sight. It's just easier for me. So I'll cut that to 12 high. Not quite right, so I'll just fix that up. We'll stick that down on there, and all I'm going to do is just put it up a little bit. I just want to put it on some foam tape just so it sits up a little bit higher. So I'm just going to put that on just a actually I'm going to cheat. I was going to cheat and use some of these adhesive foam sheets, but I've only got them in black. I thought I had some in blue. So to try and cheat that again, I'm grabbing a little bit of, this is just cheap foam that you get from the kids craft section. I think I got this at Kmart. I'm just cutting it to about the size I think. Just going to trim that a little bit. Doesn't have to be straight, doesn't have to be a good cut. It's going to get hidden anyway. There we go. And I'm just going to put not foam tape, double-sided tape on both sides of this. Actually, again, I'm going to cheat one more time. This is a double-sided adhesive sheet. The whole sheet's adhesive, so it's basically like a whole sheet of double-sided tape. And I'm just going to use that instead. So pull off the release paper the same way you would before. Stick that down on your foam sheet. Now the reason we use this instead of the glue tape is the glue tape just doesn't hold as nicely on the foam, just doesn't like it. So all the foam just adds an extra little bit of height to it, so it doesn't feel quite so stuck, quite so flat to the card. And there you go, there you've got your little double slider surprise. I know this card took a really long time. I know it's not perfect, but I really love that. It will get better the more I play with it. It's just that it's not quite going in the hole, but I have found the more you play, the easier it gets. It does help too if you pull on both sides. I'm not going to lie about that. It's supposed to be a double slider, so you're supposed to pull both ends, but it does work that way as well. So let me know what you think. Was this one too long and too complicated? Because if it is, I'm really sorry. But I really love this one. I think the interactive cards from Lawn Fawn are just so much fun no matter which one you're using. And this one's been sitting in there for a while that I meant to get it so much longer ago and I just never got around to it. But I'm really glad I have it now. I will link it down below, so if you want to get this die set for yourself and give it a try, you can. I'll link it and you can go and check it out. Please let me know if you like these longer kind of complicated cards or if you prefer the simple ones. Leave it down below. You can find me on any of my social medias. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a really good day and I will see you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!